in Europe. So any civilization in Europe moved north of Switzerland, north of France, into England, into Germany, into the northern countries of Europe. That was his thesis. And by the way, there the power of Europe has remained. Do I think that thesis has a lot of truth to it? Yeah, I think he's probably right. It was the closing of the Mediterranean by the Muslim conquest that drove European civilization northwards, where, you know, previously it had always been in the south, hadn't it? Everything had been in Rome and Spain and Greece and so on. After that, it was always Switzerland north, Germany, England, Holland, the Scandinavian countries and so on. Nothing south anymore. Northern France and so on. Any case, as you see, in this 755 period, where the tribes, Qais tribes in Spain, elected Abd al-Rahman their caliph, and he became Abd al-Rahman I in Spain, the first piece of the great empire fell away. And over the succeeding period of time, other pieces fell away. In 800, Morocco fell away under another local governor who had made himself a dynasty. And after his name was Aghlab, so they were called the Aghlabids. Others in Tunis fell away. What's present-day Tunis, they were called the Fatimids. So you have the Aghlabids in Morocco in the 800s. In Tunis in the 900s, you have the Fatimids. Then the Fatimids, I'll cover this next time, come east to Egypt, conquer Egypt, commemorate their conquest by naming the capital city of Egypt Al-Qahir. Al-Qahir means triumphant. It's the triumph of Fatimid takeover of Egypt in the 910s, which was destroyed by the Crusaders in the 1100s, and ultimately gave way to Salah ad-Din, the conqueror of the Crusaders in the 1200 periods in his dynasty. But the Fatimids were very strong in Egypt from around 950, 960 onwards. Why are the Fatimids called the Fatimids? Ah, because they have a pretension. What is their pretension? The name tells it to you all. Who do they have a pretension that they're descended from? The Prophet's family through Fatima, his only daughter, which is why they call themselves Fatimids. So it's a Shiite dynasty in the center of North Africa. The Iraq-Baghdad area was not strong enough to withstand this piecemeal decomposition of its empire by local governors and other people with, you know, causes to claim. So when things were finally said and done, by the time the Crusaders came there in the 1000s and 1100s, the empire had been restricted really to basically Syria, Palestine, and Iraq. And even in the east, the eastern parts, Persia fell away in the 800s to a dynasty called the Buyids. Again, a military dynasty that took over, and they were a Shiite dynasty in Persia. The Shiites were getting the upper hand. They even took Baghdad in the 900s, but they left the caliph, the Abbasid caliph, in control there as a figurehead, and he was backed up by Buyid. I'll cover this more next time. Buyid forces. So there were Shiites propping up the Sunni caliph just for appearance sake. And he lived on like that. So basically, by the time the Mongols came, the caliph only had control of Baghdad and areas of Iraq. He had no control of almost anything else. They kept him mostly as a figurehead, and the Mongols executed. But that was the end of the caliphate that bin Laden wants to restore, this great caliphate, supposedly, that never existed, as you see, except for moments. In any event, it fell apart almost as soon as it was created. I'm not criticizing, I'm just stating a fact. So this is just to give you the sweep of what occurred here. So at one point in the Islamic world, when the Fatimids were in control of Egypt, and the Umayyads were in control of Spain, and the Abbasids were in control of Iraq and the neighboring countries, you had three competing caliphates, side by side, operating at the same time. One, an Umayyad caliphate in Spain, 2, an Abbasid caliphate in Iraq, and 3, a Shiite caliphate in Egypt. This was around the period, I would say, when this occurred would be from around the late 900s to the fall of the Fatimid dynasty in the beginning of the 1200s. If you want to know what happened to after the Fatimids, I'll tell you next time, but it's the Mamluks. The Mamluks are a slave dynasty. M-A-M-L-U-K-S. And they continue all the way up to the Turks. So around the 1250s, the Mamluks take over. They go all the way up to the 1600s and the coming of the Turks, 1500s really, 1600s. And the Turks come, the Ottomans. But the Ottomans don't suppress them. And finally, it's Napoleon in the 1900s that fights the Mamluks in Egypt, the Battle of the Pyramids, and finishes off that dynasty. They operate under as a lesser dynasty under the Ottomans later, but I'll fill in all that next time. Just show you the scope of this history is vast. It really is vast. But from about middle 900s to early 1200s, 3 caliphates operating at the same time, all considering themselves Orthodox. Abbasid in Iraq, Umayyad in Spain, and Fatimid in Egypt. I'll pick up there next time.
Did you bring him?
I did, but I forgot to bring him today. I'll have to bring him next time. I'm sorry about it.